Um,
So we're going to look at the two copies, the rough copy and the fair copy. So Princess, whom had you chosen to read?
Lighton.
Okay, so Lighton, kindly do the needful.
I begin from number 9. Can I write without a rough copy?
Lighton, I think your network is,
I'm speaking, but
you're breaking.
reading.
Lighton, you're breaking.
Patricia. Kindly unmute.
I read.
Yes.
Can I write a fair copy without a rough copy?
Okay, thank you, Patricia. So that is really silly. It's like a woman wanting to push a child without becoming pregnant first. So the fair copy is the child of the rough copy. You must write both copies. Please pay attention to some of the words that we are using here. I said you must write both copies.
Teacher, you're funny. Can I write the rough copy roughly, just as the word suggests? And should I cross it out since since it is rough work?
So the rough copy is not rough work. It is officially part of the answer, and the teacher studies it before marking the fair copy. So you can cross some individual words as you edit the rough copy, but please do not cross it out. So what we are trying to say is, after writing your rough copy, you are not supposed to cross it. You're supposed to write it neatly with a title and one paragraph. You are only allowed to cross some individual words. Like, for example, you are supposed to use maybe 100 words, and then you notice that you have maybe like 120, or maybe you have 150 words. So you can cross out some individual words as you read through, as you're editing. So you can cross out some individual words so that at the end of it all, you're left with a required number of words. So that is it, but you're not supposed to cross it. Some of you cross it, you put like a line across to show that that's not part of your work. So the moment you do that,
Hey,
you're telling the teacher, I don't have a rough copy. This is just, or I don't know, maybe this is not part of my work. So the teacher has to go through the rough copy first before reading through the fair copy. So it's very important that the rough copy is written, clearly written.
okay, so the word rough is misleading.
Somehow it is. The actual summarizing is actually done in the rough copy. You must take it seriously and write it in a proper paragraph, because that's actually the actual summarizing happens. So some of you just write it, some of you just use even bullets to write your rough copy. Some of you just use point form and all that. So you're not supposed to do that. You write it neatly. It's part of your work.
Hmm. This means that I'm not allowed to jot down my points by listing, numbering, using dashes, bulleting, or any other form of outlining.
Very true. You are not allowed. So both copies must be in a proper paragraph. Writing the rough copy in a proper paragraph helps you to organize the required information and regulate the number of words. Like I said, of course, after writing your fair copy, um, Okay, after writing the rough copy, what we are talking about the organization is you're able to cross out some words that you feel might not really make a lot of sense in your summary so that you write the fair copy neatly. So as you write your rough copy, you're supposed to count the number of words so to see whether you are within the required number of words needed, or the required number of words, actually, whether you're within the required number of words. So still, we are going to talk about the number of words. So we've talked about paragraphing. We've talked about the two copies, that's the fair copy and the rough copy. Now we are looking at the number of words. Can we have someone else? Thank you so much. That was Patricia, I think. Can we have
Yes.
someone else, Princess, to read through?
Okay. Favor Murunji, can you please unmute?
Okay, number of words. Must I count the words one by one?
It
It is
is
a
a
must to
must.
count.
Yeah, thank you,
Sorry.
Favor. So it is a must to count the words one by one. The counting is done in the rough copy. Please count word by word. Every word is very important. So some of you sometimes use even like 150 words and then you lie to the teacher and write there 100 words. That's not right. Please count your number of words very well.
If I use more than the required number of words, but I indicate that I have used less, will I get away with the wise trick?
Why streak my foot? Really? But you students, so teachers really hate liars. No one likes liars. Even you people, I know you don't like liars. So the teacher will count the number of words, word one by one, with the points beyond the word limit will not be, and the points beyond the word limits will not be marked. I know that many of you have seen teachers do this. It is an offense to exceed the word limit. So the moment a teacher says that in not more than 100 words, and then for you, you write your 150 words. So the teacher will only count up to 100 words and then mark 100 words. It's actually very to master everything that has to do with summary writing so that you know word reduction. There is something called word reduction. We are going to look at that. How do you reduce the number of words? How do you ensure that you use the required number of words without being very wordy or having unnecessary words that are not required? So we are going to look at that. Please don't exceed the word limit. Let's continue. So okay, so sorry about that. Lost my coordination once again, but I am back. Thank you. So Princess, I don't know who was reading. Can you maybe continue with the, let me just share my screen. Sorry, I don't know why my internet is really very bad today. My apologies.
Feba, can you please read?
Is it also an offense not to reach the word limit?
Well, not really, but it is risky if your words are too far below the word limit. For example, if you're asked to use about 120 words and you use maybe 50, 60, left out a good number of points. So you'll be the loser at the end of it all. So it's true, you can use 100 words, but then it shows that there are some points that you left out, because by the time the teacher comes up with the marking guide, they give the passage, then do the marking guide, count the number of words. So if the teacher asks for 100 words, then let me say 120 words. Then the teacher knows that, okay, a student can use 115 words, or a student can use 125 words to actually write that summary. So it's very important that you don't miss out on any point by you using really not reaching the word limit that you've been given.
Are the words in the title counted and are the punctuation marks also counted as words?
So before I answer that question, let me give you a wise trick to help you avoid exceeding the word limit. As you're writing the rough copy, stop at least 2 times during the writing and count the words you have used. And count the words you have used so far in relation to the points that are remaining. This helps you to regulate yourself by the time you finish the rough copy. You know whether you're within the word limit or you have a few excess words to edit out. So this style is known as write as you count and count as you write style. So what I'm trying to say, class, is as you write, it is important to keep counting the number of words that you have used. Write as you count and count as you write. It's the same thing. So count the number of words, keep counting the number of words as you write, so that you don't exceed the word limit. So that if you notice that my number of words are too many, then you can see what to cross out, or what words to leave out, and still have your summary make meaning. Okay, so that is a wise trick. Let's continue, Mulunji.
That's a very sensible thing to do.
Thank you. Now to answer your question, the words in the title are not counted, and the punctuation marks are not also counted, because they are not words. Punctuation marks are not words, and then the words in the title are not also counted. The title is independent. Yes, so please don't worry about the title.
What is the difference between in not more than
All
and
right,
in
so
about?
let's go to the next one.
What is the difference between in not more than and in about when it comes to the number of words?
Okay, so when the question says in not more than X words, you must not exceed even by a single word in not more than 100 words. Tell your classmates, maybe talk to your classmates about the advantages and disadvantages of urban life, or talk to your classmates about the effects of pollution. Please don't use more than 100 words to explain or to talk about the effects of pollution. Use 100 or 99 words, okay, or 100 words or below 100 words. The moment you have 101, the other extra point that you have will not be marked. Then, in about 100 words, you are allowed to use not more than 5 extra words. I repeat, you are allowed to use not more than 5 extra words. So if the sentence, okay, sorry, if the question has in about 100 words, explain to your classmates the advantages and disadvantages of urban life. So please, you can use 105 words or you can use 95 words. Please don't go beyond 105 words because 105 words and mark that.
Should I continue?
Yeah, kindly continue.
Thank you, teacher. Is there anything else concerning the words?
The other common thing that you students do is you love joining and separating words. So let's avoid joining and separating words. This is careless. It's actually very careless. So when you write a lot instead of a lot, indoors, like what you can see, indoors instead of indoors, you get a 0. So if that is a point, then you don't get any mark because it has a very different meaning from the word that is joined. Like for example, indoors and indoors, it has a very big difference. So this one means something, that's why this one means something else. So you change the meaning of the word. So you can also avoid contractions. You should also avoid contractions if they are not used in the passage. For example, isn't, can't, things like that. So some of you bring contractions, yet in actual sense, the contraction has not been used in the passage. And then hyphenated words like mother-in-law, figures like that, like for example, 10, that's 10,000. That is 10 million. Yeah. Like 10 million and abbreviations like UNEB are counted as words. So mother-in-law is one word because it has one meaning. Figures like 10 million, UNEB, if it has been used in the past, abbreviations are counted as any abbreviation is counted as one word if it has been used like that in the passage. So that is it about the number of words. Any question? I want to request all these people to lower their hands. Anyone with a question about concerning what we have talked about, please don't ask questions.
Madam,
Yes, please.
there is somebody who asked about that what are subtitles in English?
Oh, okay. For example, you have maybe let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of family life. Then you have your title as the advantages and disadvantages of family life. Then you have your paragraph, like you have a paragraph. Then after that paragraph, you maybe want to talk about overpopulation. Then you write overpopulation, you underline. You talk about overpopulation, full stop. Then you talk about maybe inadequate, let me see, another disadvantage of a large family, maybe conflicts. Then you write conflicts underline. Then you talk about conflicts in the other line. So that is subtitles. Yes, so you have a subtitle, then you talk about that subtitle. Another subtitle, you talk about that subtitle. So that's how a subtitle looks like. Okay. Any other question, Princess, that you noted?
Nothing, madam. Okay,
Okay.
somebody asked, Madam, can abbreviations, even though they are not given in the question?
No, you cannot use an abbreviation if it's not in the question.
Madam?
If it's not in the passage, you're supposed to extract words from the passage. Please extract what has been given in the passage. You can use your words, but only maybe when you're joining a word or things like that. But you don't bring your own things that have not been, things that are not included in the passage. Okay. And what other people? I'm seeing some hands are up. Maybe let's speak to people.
Aine? Aine, please unmute.
I think Aine, could you pick someone else?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. I was asking if, however, is not a new word to be added in, because you have said that we should not add other contradictions, other words.
Whoever is drawing on my screen, can you stop it? Just that I was not able to see the people. So I'm going to put some of you in the waiting room and you wait there. Okay, thank you so much. So when you talk about, however, it is a transition word. So like I said, someone asked in the chat whether you can introduce an abbreviation. Where are you getting that abbreviation? Of what use is that abbreviation in the summary? So what I'm trying to say is you only introduce a word when it's necessary for you to introduce that particular word. However, it is a transition word. If someone says in addition, on the contrary, those are transition words, and they make your summary more meaningful. It is okay. But if you just can't pick a word from nowhere, just because you find it maybe you find it interesting, you want to bring it there. No. So you should always extract. When we talk about summary writing, we talk about extraction. You extract words from the passage. Words like also and also, as well as, those ones might not be in the passage, but because you as a student who has studied summary writing, you know that you're supposed to limit yourself, maybe limit the number of commas that you're supposed to, because you're supposed to use 2 commas. So you know that I'm supposed to use commas, and then after that introduce a conjunction and, or you can say as well as the other point. So as a student who has studied summary writing, you know what you're supposed to, do. Unnecessary wording, bringing your own words on board, no, it's not allowed, because you're supposed to extract from the passage. Okay. Any other, can we pick another hand?
Madam, somebody was asking if I'm
Yes.
got up by, like if they are got up by time without finishing the fair copy, but have the rough copy, do they mark it and give them marks?
So it depends. In most cases, like for example, if it's UNEB will agree. As they do the marking there, they can agree that maybe for a student who has not finished and they have a very neat rough copy, you can mark that. But that is why we emphasize that it is very important for a student to have a rough copy clearly written. So it depends. So the teachers agree, and first put someone in the waiting room. These people making my screen dirty. We go to the waiting room. Yes, so depending, but it is important that you plan your time very well so that you're not caught by time.
Madam,
Yes,
somebody's,
please.
is mother-in-law without hyphens still one word?
No, it's supposed to have hyphens. So when you talk about mother-in-law without hyphens, then you've not written that word the right way, because it's supposed to have hyphens. Okay, can we pick one more hand and we continue?
Samuel, can you please unmute?
Princess?
Samuel? Okay. Rachel, can you please unmute? Rachel?
So as Rachel is unmuting, I'm seeing that someone is asking whether the title is supposed to be in the middle or at the beginning of the paper. So depending, sometimes you have a long title. So if you have a long title, you can start from the margin. You can start from the margin. But if you have the title is short, like for example, the importance of family planning, you can start from the middle, depending. There we don't always really penalize the title, whether it's from the margin or in the middle. But ensure that you just have your title in capital letters. Then someone is saying, Yes, yes, Alvin, you are allowed to remove some points in the passage to prevent exceeding the word limit. Very true, yes. You are allowed to do that. All right, so I think let me continue.
Somebody has a
Yes.
question.
Okay,
Prosper
go
Regan.
ahead.
Madam, I have 3 questions I was asking. Am I allowed to use like idioms in order to shorten my words? Like another question is like you told us that we must write the words directly got from the passage. But when the word is too long and I want to make it short and I use idiom. And another thing is, madam, how do I frame my answers? Can I just list them like overpopulation, pregnancy, or I just like it was this and I frame them? How do I frame them? That was my question, madam.
Wow. First is you're not supposed to use idioms. Stick to the passage. Even if the point is long, I don't know. If the point is long, then maybe look for some of the words in that point that you can remove. Please don't use an idiom. This is not creative writing. So we're talking about summary writing. And then, how do you phrase your points? We are going to talk about that because when you talk about phrasing your point, where you're supposed to have a topic sentence, then you have a complete sentence. Okay, like I have a complete sentence. Like, for example, overpopulation leads to dash and dash and dash and dash, leads to dash, comma, dash, and something like that. So we are going to also see that. And questions in the chat. Am I allowed to cross the rough copy? I answered that you're not supposed to cross the rough copy. Should the first paragraph be indented? Yes. Can I write a title in small letters and underline? Is it allowed? For me, I will say I do not allow that. Write your title in capital letters. The reason why is, anyway, we are going to talk about the title. Like that's our next thing there. So we're going to talk about it. Is it one paragraph? Yes. How can I get the subject in final copy, Banange? Because sometimes the subject, we are going to talk about the subject and the topic sentence. All right. So I think let's continue to the title. Let me see. How long it is. How long is it? Not so long. Okay, maybe I can have Princess, you can read that. You can be the student. Now you can let's talk about the title.
Okay, madam. Is it necessary to write the title? What happens if I forgot it?
So it is a must to write the title on both copies. So I advise you to write the title in capital letters and not to underline it. If you underline it when written in capital letters, you will lose a mark. Writing the title in small letters is also allowed, but it has some conditions which you may easily forget. So I advise you again to really write your title in capital letters. Please write your title in capital letters. Stop saying, I want to write it in small letters and underline. The reason is, when you're writing it in small letters, there are some words that are supposed to start with a capital letter. The important words in a title are supposed to start with a capital letter. So in most cases, students forget the most important words and end up starting them using a small letter. And then you end up failing. Princess, let's continue.
Okay. Can I create a title of my own? Or if the passage has a title, can't I simply use that one for the summary?
So the title must be got from the question. A wrong title and a mistake of any kind will fetch a penalty. Do not put a full stop on the title. Please, people, don't create your own titles. Go back to the scenario. For now, we say go back to the scenario. For example, they tell you that maybe you have a passage on pollution, and they have told you that maybe you have noticed that there is rampant pollution around the school and I don't know, something like that. Then they ask you that maybe as a concerned student, talk about the effects of pollution in class. So you have the title as the effects of pollution. So you must get it from the question or the scenario. Here we talk about scenarios for your case. So don't create your own title. If the passage has a title, please don't use the title of the passage. Look at the scenario and get your title from the scenario. In most cases, the title comes after that word in a talk about, discuss the effects, explain the effects, you talk about not the effects of something. And then many of us always forget the article there. Like, for example, talk about the advantages of a large family. Talk about, or maybe discuss the maybe the reasons why it is important for you to shower, something like that. So we should not forget the article there if it is there. If it is in the scenario.
Am I allowed to shorten the title if I think that it will be too long?
You are not allowed. So some titles are short while others are a bit long. So you should not worry about the length of the title. Just ensure that you have the right title and that you have picked your title from the scenario, whether it's long or short. All right, thank you, Princess. So, so this is very simple. When we talk about the summary writing process, I think I might stop here because I know that we've already had too much. I don't know. I think I'll talk about let me talk about the summary writing process. So so the first step when you're writing your summary is that you read the question to know the topic and the number of words to use. Then the second thing you're supposed to do is you're supposed to read the passage carefully while noting the sentences that have the points. Keep on looking back at the question. So first read the question, then you go to the passage. Or read the scenario and go to the passage so that you know what you're looking out for. And then after that, you read the passage again while underlining the sentences or sections of the sentences which have the relevant points. And then after that, you're supposed to write the rough copy neatly and carefully from the underlined sentences. So then it's important that you wisely lift the exact words of the passage while using word reduction methods. I know that we learned about word reduction method in S3, but we are still going to look at that. So count the words in the rough copy using the style I gave you. Write as you count and count as you write. So then after that, if the words are within the limit, simply transfer your work to the space for fair copy. But if there are few extra words, then first edit and reduce them before transferring. So our next stop in our next lesson, we are going to start with word reduction methods. We are going to see how do you reduce the words. How do you ensure that you have the right words for the right passage? So that's what we are going to look at in our next lesson. For now, let me see whether we have any questions in the chat. How many words are needed in the heading of a summary? Mosh, it depends. It depends. I really can't dictate. It depends. Then someone says that other teachers tell us that summary writing is functional writing. But is it true? Why some teachers tell us it's not? Summary writing is not part of functional writing. And I'm also a teacher who will tell you that summary writing is not part of functional writing. So functional writing, you're writing for a purpose. You have things like report writing, letter writing, minute writing, memorandum, maybe article writing. And when you're writing for a purpose, summary writing is summary writing. What if they tell you to summarize an article, or you write an article, or you write a summary? Ronix, your question is not clear. How many full stops? Patricia, how many full stops should the summary have? I also can't dictate the number of full stops that your summary should have. I can only say that your summary is not supposed to have more than 2 commas in a sentence. But we are going to talk about that, the commas, in our next lesson. Am I allowed to punctuate using full stops, or is it supposed to be commas only during writing of the subparagraph? Session, it's not so clear, but I can say that full stops are allowed, of course, because after every sentence, you're supposed to put a full stop. Then about the commas, you're not supposed to have more than 2 commas in a sentence. We are going to look at that in our next lesson. Does the number of commas matter? Karen, very true, it matters. How many words are needed when writing a summary? Manana, I think we talked about that. It depends. Some people will tell you in not more than 100 words, 120, depending on the scenario. Hmm. Hmm. Some of your questions. Is it allowed to have more words in the rough copy and then less in the fair copy? Yes, you can have more words. You're not allowed to cross the rough copy. Thank you, Martha, for appreciating. What makes up a good summary, Davis? That's what we've been looking at. I hope you've been paying attention. Are the words of the heading? That one I even answered it. Evie, okay. My teacher says that it is advisable for the title to be short because if it's long, it becomes more of a sentence. Class, as personally as a teacher, I cannot dictate on how long a title should be. You should pick your title from the scenario. For example, in a scenario maybe you have a passage about a wedding, and then they tell you that maybe talk about the things one needs to have a powerful wedding. So talk about the things one needs to have maybe a powerful wedding. That is the title. It's long, but that is what the scenario is asking you to do. So you cannot shorten that title. Yeah, that is what the scenario is asking you to do. There's a passage that I read about the experiences of the narrator in Poland. The experiences of the narrator in Poland. So that title is long. So you cannot say that I will dictate and tell you that your title should be short, yet in actual sense, the scenario is asking you for, if the title given in the scenario is long, you cannot shorten that. You cannot come up with your own title. You should be guided by the scenario. So Patricia, that's what I will advise you to do. I hope we are still together. I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, madam.
Okay, thank you. So, madam, should we write the words counted in the summary? Yes, praise. Madam, There are a certain number of points to get from the passage if you remove some of the words to be. Won't you lose marks? No. You won't lose marks as long as you have the right points and you've used the right number of the required number of words. Someone is saying an example of a summary. We shall look at that in our next lesson. Someone is also requesting for a summary as an example. Do we have to get two subjects? The subject has to be one. For example, you're talking about the effects, the causes and effects of pollution. That is, pollution is the subject. Please, you people, I said stop you. I don't even want anyone to talk about small letters. Please write your title in capital letters. And a title cannot have a full stop. A title is not a sentence. It is a sentence that you have a full stop. A full stop's counted. I talked about that. Yes, you can cancel some words in the rough copy, Emmanuel. Yes, gift, you're supposed to write the number of words at the bottom right corner. Are idioms allowed? No. Idioms just give you extra information about what is being talked about. So it is not, you're not supposed to use idioms, proverbs, no. I think a summary has to have one full stop. Oh my goodness. Please don't mislead people. You're welcome, Kansime. At idiom. Someone again is asking about idioms. Do teachers read fair copy? Yes, we do read. Please don't cross the fair copy. Timothy, please. Timothy says that the teacher told them that they can just list the points in the rough copy, but when you go to the fair copy, use paragraphs. Please supplement on that. Please, Timothy, if you're still in this class, don't ever list your points in summary writing. Whether it's the rough copy, please write one indented paragraph. As a teacher, I am telling you that please don't do that. So Timothy, I hope you've heard that. Please don't list your points. Write a full paragraph. Olive, you're welcome. Why can't you cross the rough copy? Because it's part of your work. Someone is telling me 36 minutes to go. Thank you.
Madam?
My teacher said it should have a maximum of 7 words. You people, there is something called a title in summary writing. There's a title in creative writing. There is a title in functional writing. Let your teachers clarify on the different titles. When you talk about summary writing, I cannot dictate the number of words because, like I said, you are supposed to be guided by the scenario.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes, please.
Somebody was asking that how many marks does the title carry?
The title carries 1 mark. The paragraph carries 1 mark. That is what we call summary structure. Then we have what we call summary content. Summary content carries 3 scores. It carries 3 marks. So in total, with UNEB marks summary writing out of 5. But in our schools, we mark summary writing. Most teachers mark it out of 22. Like for us, we mark it out of 20, 20, the summary content out of 20, then the title and the paragraph 2. So that is 22. So the title carries the mark. That's why you should have the right title. Spirit is saying, how am I supposed to count 200 words? You are a student, you have the right, you have the answer. Can we cross the fair copy? Agatha, now if you cross the fair copy, then what will I mark? Prosy, I had talked about this, whether the summary has two two sides, like effects and solutions, you must use one paragraph. Thank you, Favor. At least Favor has rescued me here. Those who need notes, you are supposed to be taking notes. Some of you are busy in the chat, asking unnecessary things, asking about unnecessary things. Jessica, thank you. Shemta, you're not supposed to write the title in small letters, whether you're writing the rough copy or the fair copy. You are supposed to use capital letters both in the rough copy and the fair copy. Yes, Kate, we read all the words. Are there passages that have words whereby if you try to reduce, they lose meaning? So you don't reduce the words. So if you know that there is a word in a certain point that makes a lot of meaning, then you don't reduce you don't remove any word. We are going to talk about the word reduction next week. How can I get the notes? Pal, you were supposed to make your own notes during the lesson. How many how many
Sure.
marks? That many marks does a title carry? I talk about 1 mark. Notes, madam. Okay. Awards counted by one, yes. How many marks? 5 marks for you with your name. But in your schools, your teachers will mark it out of whatever marks they want to mark it out. They want you mark out of. Thank you, Prosi. Some questions about summary writing. I'll send, maybe actually I'll need to send a question in the group. That's what I'll send. But those asking for notes, you are not writing notes during the lesson. I want to, no. You go to the waiting room, it's okay, we shall get you there. Okay, I'm seeing some of the question as,
Excuse me, madam.
yes, please.
Some people are raising up their hands.
Okay, yeah, they can let you pick them as I read through the chat to see whether there's anything that I've not answered or responded to.
Aaron,
Someone is asking, what happens
can
when
you
you accidentally cross in the fair copy? Then you will not get a mark because now you have crossed the fair copy. What am I supposed to mark? Yes,
Excuse
Princess, you
me,
continue.
teacher.
Ar-
Our teacher told us about the starting statement after the title, that we pick it after. Okay, we look at the title. Okay, the passage, then the starting statement. Then after that, we start writing our notes. Okay, the summary, but the starting one.
Yes, very true. So there is what we call the topic sentence or topic sentence. And I think I'm also going to talk about that. I'll talk about the topic sentence or the introductory statement. Someone wants to know my name, but people, my name is Christine Chengui. Do I need to underline the title and write a full stop? No. Okay, some of these questions are just repeated. My teacher told me that in order to know the number of words I have used, I just count the words on my first line, then count the words, then count the lines I have used to get the correct number of words. So this is very tricky, depending if you know that, for example, in the first line, you have used 5 lines. In the second line, you have used seven words. In the other, you use five words. So it is important that you count one by word, every word by word. Count everything. Stop counting the lines that you have used. Is summary writing optional in UNEB? Sorry for you. Teacher, I didn't mean crossing the whole fair copy. I mean perhaps a word in the fair copy if you cross a word. No, that's okay. Crossing a word is okay. But of course, it shouldn't be too much because that's the reason why you have the rough copy. You can cross cross out words in the rough copy so that at least your fair copy is clean. Susan is also asking about my name. Okay. Let me see. Okay. I think those are some of the things in the chat that I maybe I don't know. Let me first lower all these hands and we see those that have questions that I have not responded to. Please put up your hand. If there's any question that I've responded to, please don't put up your hand so that we save on time. So some of you are asking questions that. So, Princess, let's look through the participants and see.
Dreamer, can you please unmute?
Madam, well, you said that you were going to send something in the group, but apparently some of us are not there because yesterday we tried joining and the group was full. So I don't know, but something needs to be done.
Okay, now I think there are other groups. When you look at the S4 group, I think someone has posted the link in the chat. So kindly look through because there are other groups that are not full. So I think S4A is full. S4B still has some, let me see. Okay, let me look for the link, S4B then. As meanwhile, Princess, you can pick another hand.
Okay. Martin, can you please unmute?
Hey, good afternoon, Madam.
Good
I just want,
afternoon.
well done.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam, it's about the title. What if it's long when it can't fit on on one line? What should I do?
Okay, you can go to the next line. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I'm seeing Dollars has posted a link. Thank you,
thank you.
Dollars. So you can go to the next line and write your title. It's okay. The title is you're not restricted to using one line for the title. You can move to the next line.
Alvin, can you please unmute?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon, Alvin.
It's just that all me I wanted to know was during summary writing, like they are okay in the passage, they will ask us for points like let's say the advantages of water, like they show us the different ways water is useful. So now do we have to pick all the points about like all the points on the advantages of water and then we get all the maximum marks or we can leave out some points?
You pick all the points. Pick all the points, write your points in the rough copy, and then count. If they are within the word limit, you write them in the fair copy. If you feel like the words are too many, then you can remove some words, but leave the points. Because that's
But
what we are looking for.
but won't that lead to loss of marks?
No. Yet we are looking for the points. We are looking for points. And we are looking at how a student is
But
good
okay,
at.
for our teacher,
Yes,
okay,
please.
but our teacher tells us to, okay, she says that that you have to have there's a certain number of points in the passage that you're supposed to get if you want all the marks. So if we leave out, we may lose some marks. Will this be the case for
Okay, that's
UNED?
what I'm trying to say, that you're not supposed to leave out any point. Write all your points in the rough copy. Then after that, count the number of words that you have used. If they are within the word limit, transfer the points to the fair copy. Please don't leave out on any word because for sure, like you've said, you might end up losing some marks because if the teacher knows that in a summary there are around 22 points, then maybe the teacher gives an allowance of maybe one. If a student maybe fails to write one, it's okay, they can write 21 points. So my marking guide will have like maybe 20 to 22. So you need to ensure that you extract all the points.
Oh, okay, teacher. Thank you.
Janice, can you please unmute?
Good afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon.
This part that I fail to understand. In a summary writing, sometimes in a passage you'll get figures. And then when you want to summarize in a summary, how should you write it? Should you copy the figures back or you simplify the figure? And then another one is, what if the points given are limited in the passage and then you're expected to reach a certain number in the fair copy? Must you repeat the point that you have written before? And then how are summary writing supposed to be begun? Because at times a question will be how. And then our teacher told us that if you write, like in case the question is given how, you shouldn't begin your summary by the following are these things. But is there an appropriate way of answering a how question in summary? And then the last one is,
let me first get the first question. Sorry, can you ask the first question? I only got the question on how.
Okay, the first question is, how are figures supposed to be summarized? Because at times you get a larger figure in the passage, and then you're supposed to summarize it. Should you copy the figure back in the fair copy, or you use some simple word to summarize that figure? Am I clear? Madam?
Yes.
Am I
Maybe
clear
to
on that?
respond to that about the figures, if the figures, write the figure the way it is written in the summary. If it is 10,000, if it's 100,000, 100 million, write it the way it has been written.
Okay, fine. And then repeating points when the points in the passage are limited.
Okay, yes. So about repeating points, please don't repeat any point. If you have read a summary and you feel that you have extracted all the points that are required, only extract the points that you feel are required. Leave the, okay, not leave, let me say, don't repeat any point because that's repetition and you not get any extra mark for repeating that particular point. So extract only the points that are there. The teacher will know what to do. Just ensure that you have all the points that are required. And then about the title, how to phrase the title. For example, of course, you're not supposed to say the following are the different ways in which maybe pollution affects the environment. No. Like, for example, the question on how. For example, maybe you have a scenario and maybe the scenario is maybe you have maybe noticed that there is maybe a rampant I don't know, maybe environmental pollution in your school, and your teacher has requested you to talk about it to your classmates, or maybe to talk about it during assembly. Talk about how pollution can be avoided. So then you will have your title as How Pollution Can Be Avoided. Talk about how. So anything that comes about, after that is the title. Talk about how pollution can be avoided. Talk about the effects of pollution. So you have your title as the effects of pollution.
Yeah, I got the point. And And then
Okay.
the last question is, what if you leave some determinant words preceding nouns and adjectives in your file copy when written in the passage?
So determinants, like for example, if the determinants are very important because they qualify the sentence. Like for example, now you have maybe talk about the effects of pollution. Then for you just have effects of pollution. You have left out the determinant the. So it makes your title lose meaning and you might not get a mark for it. So determinants are important.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm seeing there are so many hands up. Okay, any other question? Eh, Princess, can we have another hand? We don't have much time. Okay, Spirit, can you kindly respond? Sorry, unmute and ask your question.
Spirit. I think it was
Okay, can we have another person?
MC Dollars. Can you please unmute?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, madam, thank you for your great work. But I wanted to inquire whether, like, we are starting our paragraph, should we start from the margin line, like after writing the title, or we should make some space and then start our wording?
You're supposed to indent your paragraph, so you leave some space from the margin.
Okay, thank you, madam.
SK, can you please unmute? Procy, can you unmute?
Good evening, madam.
Good afternoon.
It's afternoon.
Okay, I'm sorry, madam. I have a question. I remember my madam told me that after writing, if somebody has two questions, after writing the effects with its subject, then I have to create another subject for is if it is like a solution, anything. To create in that space. I have to left one line to so that I can start a new subject for the solution. Am I clear, madam?
Yes, you're clear.
That's what I'm
Yeah, so
trying to ask.
okay, so thank you, Prosi. So maybe just to say that if your question has two sides, like we said at the beginning, you are supposed to have a transition word. So the only difference is the first side, maybe like for example, you're looking at the causes and effects of pollution. It is still pollution. The only difference is that the first time you talk about the causes, and then the other side you talk about the effects. So the subject still remains pollution, but the discussion changes. So you don't need to change. I don't know. Just know that you're supposed to transition from writing about the effects,
Madam,